was that the biggest transformational moment in your life, to see a miracle and be a miracle?
Absolutely. I would say I learned God in a way that I had never experienced him through that situation.
Wow.
I knew him to be Jireh. I knew him to be a sustainer. I knew him to be a friend. Can you brushing your teeth in the same bed, somebody having to start to wipe you and using all of it. 26, your legs are withering. You don't have anything else to rely on. You can't do in your perfection. You can do nothing for you. And to know that there's a God that would love you like that, it changed me forever. It changed me forever.
Welcome to a new episode of Healed Girl Era podcast with me, Gia Peppers. Our newest guest is Dr. Jackie Greene. And while I was in South Carolina, I had an empowering conversation with her about the eras of her life as a little girl growing up in Georgia that shaped her to become a powerhouse faith leader, dentist, author, wife, mom, and co-founder of Forward City Church. Listen as she shares the eras of her life that impacted her the most and transformed her from a little girl who was deeply missing her father after he moved back to Ghana to the powerhouse woman of faith who leads women in finding purpose in every part of their stories. Her newest devotional, Remain in His Love, also reflects her journey, so we'll get into that too. But a new powerful episode of Healed Girl Era, the podcast, begins now.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to a new episode of Healed Girl Era podcast with me, Gia Peppers. I am in South Carolina, and there's only one reason. Two reasons I come to South Carolina. One, to get into the amazing city, but also the state, and the cities and the people here, but also to encounter the women and the stories and the amazing things that are happening because of the women in this city. And I have a woman who is doing amazing things as an author, as a wife, as a mom, and lead pastor of Forward City Church, where we are right now. Please help me welcome the incredible Dr. Jackie Greene, who is also a non-practicing dentist. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Dr. Jackie's here.
Gia, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
It's so good to see you.
It's so good to be here. You know, you're looking like you're looking, and it's the broadcast voice for me. I'm saying, I'm going to be like you when I grow up. Just demure and sophisticated.
No, ma'am. This is not. I got thigh out, saints.
Baby, watch the thigh meat.
I'm single.
And ready to mingle, baby.
Hello.
Okay,
Actually,
okay.
wait, I'm not
We're going to be
single.
good today.
I have to stop saying that. Update. Y'all,
Oh,
I
yeah.
ain't single no more.
Ooh.
I got to stop that. Anyway, sorry, babe.
They're going to tell them more now.
Hello, I'm gonna just hold it down. If y'all see something slipping, look the other way. I am so happy that you are here. Thank you so much for coming on this show.
Man, I'm really excited about this conversation.
Yes.
Wanted to get to know you, even outside of cameras in the conversation. Like,
Yes.
I want to know who Gia is.
Yes,
So,
and we've been in passing so many times at Woman Evolve and other things. And one day I'm going to make it to one of her conferences because her conferences are amazing. And I love what you're doing, not only, again, as a leader in faith spaces like Forward City, which, y'all, this church is amazing. If you get to come to South Carolina, touchdown here. It's a school, it's a gym, it's a church, it's a sanctuary. They got podcast rooms. And we did not mean to match with the set. We did not mean to match.
It's called Holy Ghost.
Hallelujah! Start it! Anyway, sorry to the audio. Okay.
Yes,
so
we're back.
we've been trying to connect, and how aligned and anointed it is to meet in this moment is how we know it's meant to be right now. So I'm happy that you're here. And before we get into the conversation,
Okay.
let's start with a word of prayer.
Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this opportunity to fellowship. Thank you for the resources to get here. Thank you for all that you have done in Dr. Jackie Greene's life. Thank you for the opportunity to hear more of her story. God, thank you that this show exists in this moment in time. God, we just ask that you use us as vessels for whatever you need this moment, this conversation, this hour to be. There are people listening right now who are going through eras where they feel alone or overwhelmed, upset, othered, unseen, all the different things. And God, they need to know that they're not healing through any of it alone, that they can get to healing, that they can get to the good parts of their life, because we know that those eras feel like you can't get through them. But God, please use us in our stories in this moment to let people know know that you absolutely can make it through any era, and you are not alone in that. Father, we thank you in advance for all that this moment will be.
Thank you, Lord.
We thank you for the listener. We thank you for the watcher who is tuned in with us right now. We ask that you just use this moment for whatever you need. In Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Y'all,
let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, so Healed Girl Era is all about, again, the eras of our lives and the most impactful lessons that we learn through them in an effort to let everyone know that they are not healing through any era alone.
Got it.
And so I want to go through the Dr. Jackie eras, but first we got to go to baby Jackie.
Okay.
Before she was a doctor,
she
was a little girl.
Yes.
So tell me about your baby Jackie era. Where did you grow up? For the people who might not know, y'all know Jackie's story, but I want her to tell it.
Yes.
Where did you grow up? What do you remember about your initial childhood years, those early years to like 5 years old?
Okay.
What do you remember about being little Jackie, baby Jackie?
I'll say where I grew up. I was born in Decatur, Georgia, lived in Atlanta until I was 4.
Yeah.
I was 5. I relocated at the very end of my fifth year to Sandersville, Georgia, which was my mom's hometown.
Yeah.
My daddy left when I was 4 to go back to Ghana, West Africa, and left my mom as a single mom in Atlanta, working as a pharmacist, trying to raise my brother and I, and my mom needed help. So we ended up relocating to her hometown to get help from her family. Wow. But while in Atlanta, I would say that was a time I think of like soaring and free. I was so bold. I would be the girl that was in the choir with all adults.
Come on.
Wearing my mama's long earrings, the little socks with the little frills on the edge. It was a lot of centering around family and church. My whole young formative years were really around me getting to know who God had created me to be. And my mom was very, very loud and affirming about, you can do anything. Wow. So I had no fear. I stood up and testified that the Lord can help me with my test. Now, mind you, I'm only 5.
That's amazing.
And I can remember that. I can remember standing up. The church that I was a part of was called Settlement Word. And they were really big about, even at a young age, reminding you that you don't have to wait to become 15 or 25 to start being who you've been created to be. So very early, there was this, I would say, just affirmation to go do the thing that you were created for. And I mean, I was out there loud and proud doing it. My brother, he was standing in suits, speaking on pulpits, even very young. So I would say that's what my childhood from up to 5 was really about. It was, girl, like, you're special and live in it.
I love that. I love that you had a space where you felt not only safe, but seen,
very
and
seen,
cultivated, and allowed to be a leader. Yeah, it seems like. And so
I was the queen of my daycare. Like, how do you be a queen of a daycare? Like, it makes no sense, but
on brand,
right?
I get that to this day.
It's literally like, okay, it was very clear that God wanted me to know very early, you're a leader of leaders, and don't shy back from that. Don't run away from it, but really use that as an example for other women to be called into that same thing. So it was special.
I love that. And so you are in the church, you testifying, choir, all the things of baby preacher, and at home you're missing your dad. What does that do to a baby girl who is trying to find her way and become a leader? How did it start to impact you in those early years, and maybe even after 5, when you realize that, other kids have their dad, but where's mine? What was that like for you?
That takes me to Sandersville once I have left out of Atlanta, because Atlanta, I still, for the most of it, I was with my dad. Yeah. He left the last year that I was there. And so it was kind of like settling in initially, like, okay, he's not here anymore. I have this mom that pours her whole life into me, does absolutely everything, every sacrifice you can imagine, giving us the absolute best life we can have. But on the other side, there's a guy that I call daddy that used to be present, that loved everything about me, but now he doesn't know my favorite color. I only hear from him on birthdays. That, I think, dichotomy of love. When my mom would always speak positive, very positive, she was one that never gave me a reason to add other trauma, like, your daddy ain't, she was not that mom. She was very adamant for me to understand that people from Ghanaian or Ghanaian culture, they love differently. So the understanding that they go to provide or set up life for you is what they call love. And so she wanted me to, I think, understand the differences in how people show love. But I don't think as a 6, 7, 8-year-old, even 10-year-old, you reconcile that your dad is not present. So it made me look for love in all the wrong places. I would say the one word that comes to mind that was a direct correlation to my dad leaving is I had to be perfect.
Ooh.
If I get it right, if I make the grades, if I'm ambassador, if I do all the things, if I'm cheerleader, all the stuff, and it's perfect, then maybe my daddy will come back. I can recall my brother and I standing in the yard of my grandmama's house looking at the sky, like every time we saw an airplane, like maybe that's daddy coming back for us. Like the devastation of recognizing year over year over year that'll never happen. To this day, never happened. So it was really hard to like come to grips with, how am I going to live this life now without him being present and still hold on to the truths that I knew?
Yeah.
It absolutely made me feel like the identity that I once knew that I was so sure about began to slip through my hands, because I started to try to be everything that I thought the world wanted me to be as a result of wanting to please him. So it went from him to like, let me please the boyfriend, let me please the teacher.
Yeah.
And I just became a people pleaser.
Yeah.
That really became a whole world of counterfeit living as a result of that departure.
Let me tell you something about them childhood years that informs the rest of how we show up in our lives, which is why I always start with like that baby girl era, is because there are things that happen in our lives that we don't have the language for.
Not at all.
Until later in life. But, you know, when you are younger, there are things you see and experience that, like for me, perfectionism, we relate on that.
Yeah.
I was talking to my mom about it last night, and she literally was on the phone like, you used to stay up all night trying to get the right curl in the right place and all the different things. And I was like, you know, Mom, I think that I was trying to be like perfect so that, you know, you all told me that I was a role model for my siblings.
Wow. Are you oldest?
I'm the oldest.
Okay.
I didn't want siblings. So it was like an added pressure. I was not the kid that was like, oh my gosh, where's my sister? Like, I was like,
I'm fine.
I told them both times. I said, hey, you can take them back to wherever they came from.
I love it.
Both times.
Okay.
There are some kids, that's me. Now they're my best friends in the world.
Okay.
Look, y'all. They know. I know they probably be so sick of me. I'm just telling it for the people so they can understand. I love you. But at the end of the day, that perfectionism, I had to learn through therapy and my own healing journey that that's a trauma response.
For sure.
Like that is something that makes you feel like I am not worthy as is. So let me show up in the best way so people don't see that I don't think I'm worthy.
That's it. That's it.
To this day, I fight that.
Oh yeah.
Like
it's still remnants. You can find them remnants in like, Jackie, why did you take so long on that? Or why did you feel this way after you did that?
Yeah.
I still have a really, really hard time when I don't get it right.
Yes.
And having to navigate, Jackie, what is right?
Yeah.
Having to continue to unlearn the reality that I don't set the pace and I don't set the rhythm for outcome. God does. And so having to recognize, like, if you were you yourself, were you authentic to who he created you to be, and settling into that has been a hard lesson that I have to continue to remind myself of all the time.
Yeah. So when baby Jackie comes up and it's like, it's not perfect. What are the things that you say and allow yourself to feel and connect to get through those moments where you feel like perfectionism is rising?
One of the hardest things that I had to grab is God could have made me any way he wanted me. And the fact that he made me like this means that my design was in mind when he thought about my purpose.
Come on.
It's been really hard. Like I always would say, and still, if I was a little quieter, a little more demure, not so charismatic, if I was, it was just all, if I didn't laugh as loud, it was so many critiques. If my hair was longer, if I did, we see the one little toe that's a little longer.
Right.
It was always the things that I could change rather than embracing and finally saying, no, this was exactly how he made me for the purpose that he had for me. And maybe Gia's design is different because of the purpose he has for her. But if he wanted you any different, he's master creator. Like he did all this stuff and it still exists. Surely if he wanted one thing different about your design, he could have done that. So if he made it like this, can you call it good too? That's been story of my life, of like every time where I'm saying, well, God, if I could just be funny like Travis, if I could just be as quick on my feet, or and he's like, you can just be Jackie. And can you talk about what's beautiful about her? And so I'll have to pause in those moments practically to say, you love like nobody else loves.
Come on.
You see people, you look them in the eye. Nothing's too small. You still remember the one. Like your humility is different. You're just wanting Jesus. It's different in today's time where you don't have a Mount Rushmore or something you're reaching for. Like if I am showing up from year to year, just pleasing God, I actually am fully satisfied. That's different than what I've experienced in the world. And so being able to say beautiful things about men, like loving the way I laugh and embracing that so that other women will have the courage to embrace what they have too. It's been the practical thing daily for me.
That's your daily practice of staying centered in the fact that you are not only worthy, you are perfectly made, fearfully
Not
and
a
wonderfully
mistake
made.
in any way.
I love that. This part of the conversation I think is so beautiful because I can just feel the ways that we connect without even knowing each other. Like that perfectionism, especially for young Black girls.
Yeah.
And proving to other people that we are worthy of space is something that not only happens to us in our childhood, maybe in the home with, your father not being there, me feeling overlooked as the oldest. It also happens in society. True. As for young Black girls. Like that work twice to get half. In theory, that might be motivating for some people.
Yeah.
For Black girls and boys and people, that's really hard to reconcile in your spirit. And so for, recovering perfectionists who are believers, who are trying to find identity in a new way, in a way that makes them feel that they are grounded in something bigger than anything society can say, anything that their trauma might have put into their stories. You are very, very passionate about people knowing their identity in God. So where do they start on that journey? What do you say to people who are trying to rebuild their identity?
I would say it starts with unlearning.
Yeah.
Culture tells us, and I read a book called You Are Beloved, changed everything, gave me language that I feel like brought clarity to the thing that I needed to unlearn. I'm not what I do.
Yeah.
I'm not what I have. And I'm not what people say about me. I am the beloved of God, and it's who I am. And nobody can take that. Wow. They can take a job. They can take marriages. Sometimes don't make it. All those things can shift. But the belovedness in God, because of me doing nothing other than being birthed by him and being called by him, it doesn't shift. It's an anchor. It's a place where you can stand. If you find life there, if you find steady there, you won't be moved with the winds and waves. It's not to say that the winds and waves won't come, but you will find anchoring in the moments where culture tries to tell you, well, so and so is doing it at this level. Well, as long as I am beloved by God, called by him, said that I'm doing well by him and affirmed by him, I'm okay. Yeah. And I find value there. So many people will ascribe value when they see you doing something well. But what about when you don't do it well?
Come on.
So then you die from the lack of the affirmation.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be on, I would say, the up and down roller coaster of the valuableness of man.
Come on.
And so I've had to just anchor myself in the one thing that's steady. The one thing that has not changed, that has remained from season to season, my highs, my lows, my indifference, is that I can look in my daddy's face and he can look back and say, baby, you are my beloved, whom I'm well pleased with. The same thing he told Jesus. Before Jesus did one miracle, he said that to him, just for him to anchor himself in that identity. And that's my thing. Lay down when people ask you, like, who are you and what are you good at? Like, start to talk about your personhood with Jesus, the thing that won't change. Not, well, I'm the podcaster, I'm the author. Well, what if you're not an author? Do you lack value then? What if you have an accident? Oof. I want to have something that's steady despite what circumstances can bring, because at the end of the day, you are always valuable because of him inscribing value to you, because of everything that he did on Calvary. I'm wanting to look at something that's going to stay, going to stay steady to keep my life and my identity anchored in.
Yeah.
It's been heavy and needed for me because I've been queen of this, had this amount of money, had this relationship status, been a dentist, not a dentist, been, felt good as a pastor. Sometimes didn't feel as good. Sometimes felt seen, sometimes felt unseen. And if I don't have something to balance all the hats and all the titles, then you can get caught up and lose yourself in what you've been wanting to be labeled as. I've had to strip the labels that actually find me.
Yeah. Because that was my prayer this morning. Like,
wow.
Lord, a lot of things ain't what they used to be. Like, as far as like the jobs and the gigs and all the things, my bank account ain't what it used to be at this point, because I'm spending much more creating this show and giving back and investing in what I believe is impactful for our community. And it ain't easy.
And it is.
And it is.
I want to just affirm. Yeah. It's touching the lives of so many people. And sometimes when we look at our bank account and all those things, we can't see it. And so we will attach to that failure or attach to that, oh God, I'm not doing as well. And you could be in the center of his will, doing better than you've ever done. Maybe not according to status quo, but according to God, which is who is master.
Come on.
You know?
Come on.
Who do we want to be Lord? You know?
Who do I want to be Lord?
Really,
exactly. And that's what I was like, okay, outside of the titles, which I also learned in the pandemic, who am I? Like, with no stages, no audiences clapping, nobody saying you did a good job. Who are you without that? And I found that I was still searching and still uncovering, but very, very proud that I was able to say none of that matters. None of that matters, and none of that is going to define me. And so in those moments where even I feel like shaky this morning, like I just started with like, Lord, I trust you.
Yes.
I have no idea what you're about to do, but I believe it's going to be good because you've always made it good.
Yep.
When you pulled back the titles, the different things, the author, even the mom, wife, daughter, sister.
Yeah.
Who did you find was underneath those titles, and what are you most grateful for without the titles about who you are?
I love that I'm a girl that love people. I think that one of the greatest treasures that God has given earth is humans. It's what he treasures most. And the fact that my heart breaks for what his heart breaks for, and it comes alive for what his heart comes alive for, that's the part of me that I think I celebrate the most. Like, if you give me this, without a stage, without any of it, you've given me my greatest gift to be able to connect with somebody that God created, that he calls valuable. I'm good with that, girl. Take the titles, take the stages, take the platforms. That at my core, I feel like I'm a Jesus girl, meaning I love him with everything, fully surrendered. And I love his people with all my heart and would do and give my life for that thing.
Oh, I love that. And I see it in your heart.
Yeah.
Like literally coming through as you're talking about it. Like it is not an easy thing to do because people are disappointing.
Ooh. The same gift
The
that I've
same
been given has been the place that I've experienced the most pain. Absolutely. Oh my God.
What has been a time where you've been like, well, Lord, let me take a break because these
I
people
check out. Take the assignment back. Don't want it. Yeah.
Yup.
Yeah. Several from season to season. I can remember one time very vividly. I am riding on a highway and I'm crying tears thinking about a very present trauma of somebody that we had mothered, my husband and I, we had taken in, we had mothered and fathered. They had been present in our life. We had loved this child, given everything, saw him like a one of our own. The departure of them being with us, I couldn't reconcile why God would allow me to love them like that and be present that way when he knew it wouldn't last. I thought that I was upset with the person, but as I began to cry those tears and get honest with myself, I was really upset with God. Like, you knew that it would go down like this. You knew that they would say that. You knew that it would feel that way. And still you would let me to pour like that? Why? Why would you do that? And I'm not even one of those like, why would you do that to me? But just like, why? You know? And what I understood is that the Lord told me that nothing's in vain. That the seeds that you sowed, irrespective of you being able to see the harvest, maybe that person still carries something that you poured in because I instructed you to. And you did it in relation to me, meaning that the love that you gave, you were honoring me every time you honored that child, every time you poured into them. So I had to like clear up the reality that I'm not disappointed in man. I was disappointed in God, but I had to reconcile that my life is not my own. So even through the hurt, even through the betrayal, even through what I would have not chose for myself, I had to recognize that this life ain't mine. And if he gave me the love to give and the nurturing and the mothering and the housing and all of those things, he gave blessed to be a blessing. So I had to kind of like step back and say, God, you got it. This is your life and you get to use it any way you want to. But it did absolve me from being upset about all the outcomes not necessarily ending in us living till being old together. Some things are seasonal, but you do have to reconcile that your seasons are on purpose and they do have value. None of it's in vain. He wastes nothing. He is such an intentional and strategic God. I do believe that he's still bearing fruit from the seeds that we sowed today. Absolutely. And I pray that even that child experiences every single bit of it, not even for my benefit, but for theirs.
That's always hard when You are in the midst of a season or era or time in your life where you just don't get it.
Ooh.
Like, and that's gonna happen a lot in this life. Like, I think people often look at Christians and believers. It's a very interesting time to be a believer right now.
It is.
Because it's just very loud. But I do know that people look at Christians and sometimes say, well, life must be easier for you. And it's like, no, baby.
Quite the contrary.
Nothing's easy. Nothing's easy over here. Just, I have a praying spirit. So that's what gets me through. But I still have times when I'm absolutely disappointed in what God has done in my life and what has been there and disappointed, not what God has done, disappointed in what I wanted to happen that didn't happen, even if I prayed for it. Like, there are times.
And being honest to say that you can still speak that to God.
Yeah.
Like, he's not afraid of you saying, God, I didn't expect it to go down like that. Even though I respect your choice as sovereign, that hurt. And I'm still grieving. That has been a reality that I think in my humanity, accepting my humanity, that even though I understand that his ways are not my ways, even though I know he'll work it all together, even though I know all those things to be true, I'm still a human with emotions, and that hurt. And God, I remember that person being close, and I remember the moments that we shared, and that might break my heart one night, and I might actually have to release those tears so that my body doesn't store it. That it's okay to still be a human and grieve, even being a believer, because it's needed. So many of us, I believe, are suffering heart attacks and anxiety and on medication and not sleeping because we won't tell the truth of the pain. Come on. Or we won't tell the truth of the disappointment. I love that you say it. Like, it still hurt. I think the thing that I tell people often when I mentor them is like, choose your heart. Doing it with God is the best way, but it still has a heart. But when I did it, when it wasn't with him and I chose my own way, I don't want that hard. It leaves you with busted, disgusted, nothing to fall back on. It just, that way just wasn't good for me. And if I'm going to have to choose between hard, I'm going to just choose the better heart where it at least produces fruit, where at the end of it, even if I don't understand it in the middle of it, there is a God that is guiding me, that I'm not living guessing, that is a good shepherd that in some way, truthfully, will work it together for my good. Some of that stuff over here, where I chose my own way, I don't know about that stuff.
Right.
I chose that stuff for myself. So I just say choose the better heart.
Choose the better heart. I think that point that you hit on about the ways that our emotions can literally, if we hold them in, make us sick. Can like lead to high blood pressure, which leads to other diseases and might even lead to depression, anxiety, all of the different things because we won't speak it, name it, or get help for it. Being a person who's a human, we know emotions come
that were given by him
and given by him. Shout out to Dr. Anita, who's always reminding us that like God had emotions too and became a human so he could understand what was happening with his creation. Because that despair, that sadness, it happens and it's real. Why do you think it's so important that people who are believers get help feeling their emotions when they realize that there might not be enough strength in them at this point in their season to go forward without help?
A pastor preached very recently that despite our trauma, despite what we went through, you're still assigned. And that's what comes to mind for me, because if you don't deal with the things that are going on in you, it can stifle you from purpose. Meaning, if I've shut myself down and said, I can't trust women no more, I'm never sitting on a podcast with Gia opening up. And it could be the very thing that leads you to your next. This conversation could unlock something. And because I've decided I don't want to deal with my stuff, it can hinder somebody else that I'm supposed to cross paths with, supposed to do collaboration with. I just feel like when we don't deal with our stuff, it becomes one of the greatest hindrance to the fullness of our call being manifested. And I don't want that for anybody, because if you still have breath, you still have purpose. And at the end of the day, we don't want anything blocking the reason why we've been given breath.
I love that. Breath and purpose and truth is it's all connected.
It is.
Our mental health, our mental well-being, our spiritual health, our spiritual well-being, our physical health, our physical well-being. It's all connected. That mind, body, soul care is so important. So Dr. Jackie, where do you go? Because you are a pourer.
Yes.
And you give and you give and you give in many facets. Like she got 3 people with her here right now who pouring into her, but I'm sure she pours into all the time. And I and you are a wife and you're a mom and you're a pastor, you're a leader, you're an author, you're a women's group founder with permission. Like you do a lot. So when you feel overwhelmed or not your best, what practices and what routines have you set up for yourself to come at your own aid to pour into who you are?
The first thing that came to mind is I do not forbid myself from pouring it out. Meaning I'm a crier and crying is very therapeutic for me. So most often when I'm overwhelmed, and that's not, I don't just relegate that to when I get into a room by myself. Every single one of those three that you talked about have seen me cry it out. I'm not trying to put on a superwoman cape in a way that says that this is the only thing that strong looks like when I can speak well and do it well. I believe strength looks like when I'm overwhelmed, I tell you all I'm overwhelmed. When I feel like my heart is happy or sad, you're going to get tears in both directions. I'm really honest and transparent about where I am and how I am. And I'm always writing in my journal about it daily, checking in. Jackie, how's your mind? How have you been doing with your body? So that I'm able to make tweaks and stay in in the driver's seat of my life.
Yeah.
Because so often you let other things and other demands begin to be the guide for your life, navigating you in places that you never wanted to be. And sometimes you'll find yourself down roads that you didn't expect to go. When you take that self-inventory, it a lot of times allow you to make some tweaks like, I need to put a boundary right there. I didn't want to go there. So that would be the first part. But I also would say that every pastor needs a pastor. I have a pastor, Pastor Matthew Thompson, that is, oh man, literally makes me take a deep breath to just say, thank you, God.
Wow.
And answer prayer. Not being a girl that grew up without a father. He is the father that I needed in the earth that I never had. He loves, affirms, challenges, pushes. He keeps me together. He lets me cry. He'll get me up out of the bed. He'll uproot things that I'm saying that are not in alignment with the Lord. That's another place. I would have to say my husband. He's a best friend of mine. He's not just my intimate partner. He's not just my pastor. He is a confidant. He is somebody that I can tell absolutely anything. Baby, I just feel like I'm not doing well enough, or whatever the case may be. Being that he has a front row seat, he's such a mirror for me to say, you can keep going. And then I would just say my village of women. I have some really, really dynamic female relationships that have been with me for the long run, that in times where I can look and say, God, I don't know why that happened. I can look back to 3 or 4 others and say, you done kept them right there. And I'm so grateful.
Ooh, yeah. Shout out to girlfriends and the village, and shout out to your pastor, your husband pastor, and your mentor pastor, because I think that there's such power in community and power in, like you said, the people around you. And even if there are people who don't survive certain seasons, they still drop something in there for you.
Yeah.
But one of the things that you said that I love is that you don't allow yourself to be the superwoman. So many times we've seen in our communities, especially Black women communities, we are raised by superwomen who have to put it on, so you feel like you're not doing it right.
Yep.
If you're not daggone near like running yourself into the ground.
Yep.
And I think there's a freedom in accepting that sometimes my cape has got to go in the laundry. And she's got to stay in the laundry, and I have to put on my cape for myself. I have to, put that, what they say in the air on the airlines, put your own mask on first before you worry about putting other people's masks on. When you look at, as someone who grew up in the church, when you look at the progress that we've made within the mental health community and the mental health conversations we're having in church, what have you seen about older generations embracing mental health and learning from us about how important it is to actually say, today, I'm gonna need you to step away. I need to tend to my own self and my heart.
I feel like you see a much more free body at large, meaning they're ending up accomplishing a lot more. And actually, do you know how many Christians are not happy? Meaning they set apart, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost, but full of anger, full of bitterness, full of unforgiveness, full of just stuff that doesn't emanate from the Father. I feel like we're seeing so many more of our seasoned saints come to say, like, I can go back to school. I can try that. I can believe for myself again. I done put the kids through school. I done believe for the husband. But now I can actually look back and say, the inner child in me actually needed this level of security, or I need to go back and actually deal with the thing that mama them told us never to talk about. I believe that it is not only being an example for us, but it's also just liberating them to go forward to finish the work.
Yeah.
Because many times I feel like we've been having to catch up to stuff that they just quit on or stopped on and then try to live through us. I can say, like, even for my mom, she's gone back to school. She was a pharmacist for like 35 years. Right now in school for like counseling. And I mean, baby girl is homeworking, doing the things, pouring into her grandchildren, got friend groups.
Wow.
But even okay with the challenge, even as a 63-year-old, like I'm telling her, like, Mom, if you feel self-conscious when you go in a room and this person didn't speak, won't you speak?
Yeah.
Like, deal with whatever that is that makes you feel like you have to be, like, those things right there, I believe has liberated her life so much to where she is still out here exploring the beauty and the fullness of the treasure that's on the inside of her. And I believe that's just one example of what it's done for that generation.
Yes.
Understanding that you can go and tend to your mental health too.
Yes, like that's so beautiful to watch. And I, first of all, you right, seasoned saints are so important to our growth as a community, because I think sometimes people get thrown away at every age. There are young people who are like, they don't listen to me because I'm too young. There are people our age who are like, well, Gen Z said we old and we aunties now, so I guess I'll take ma'am. And then then we have our older saints and from Gen X and boomers and all the different people that are like, y'all don't need me anymore. And I'm like, ooh, no, we need
that's
you.
so good.
We need you so badly. Like, especially in this time, in this country where we are divided and loud and against each other when we need to be united. We need to know how y'all got through that in the 60s.
Yes.
Because we gonna need to come to some place of understanding eventually.
Ooh.
And so I love that every generation is able to tap into what they need, because when we tap into what we need as humans, as individuals, we're able to show up for our people better. We're able to be better grandmothers and teachers and counselors. Shout out to your mama. I love that she is still showing up despite anything that might be in her way to go get what her life in her fullness of her calling is.
Yes, ma'am.
I love that. Ooh, that's so good. Okay. We didn't even get to the teenage years because teenage era.
Teenage was teenage.
Tell me about it.
Baby,
what was teenage Jackie?
I was too grown too fast.
Yeah.
Baby, I was driving to Atlanta with my drop top, trying to be cool.
What type of car?
Mustang. Her name was Diamond. She was silver. All the things. It was all things out here and in culture.
Yes.
I was, I got to have Beyonce weed. Come on. Drive. It was all about the people.
Yes.
I was doing it for the gram.
Yes.
I was doing it for everybody else. I'm queen of my school. Yes. I'm out here getting the grades. Got the, the most popular boy. All the stuff.
Period.
But ending up in bedrooms that weren't mine.
Come on.
Living in the, I would say, the pain of making sure that I am pleasing everybody else, but losing me. Did not have a clue. When I tell you, I did not have if somebody had asked me 16, 15, Jackie, who are you? What matters to you? All I know is what made this friend happy. I know that this boyfriend feel like I'm ride or die if I do this. I know what my teachers expected of me. If you asked me who I was, what I liked, no idea. My identity became fully absorbed in making sure everybody else liked me, was pleased with me. That was my whole identity from the time I was probably 12 till about 17. I can remember my 18th year and I was getting ready to go off to college. And I remember sitting there saying, it was the first time I had taken weave out of my hair in probably 17 years. I don't know. It had been a long time.
Let me tell you about that weave.
Because I had lived through the trauma of people having stuff to say about my hair. I had had 2 chemicals, all the things where I had dealt with the trauma with my hair, and I had made an intervow. Nobody else will get a chance, get an opportunity to speak about something that I don't want them to speak about. I'll cover it. I'll make sure it looks beautiful on the outside. I'm never revealing that side of myself because it felt too vulnerable. And it was
Sorry, wait, what happened with the hair?
So when I think I'm 3, 4.
Okay.
Mommy,
a baby.
Young.
Okay.
Very young. Mommy decides that because my daddy's African and she's American, that the combination of what that produces in hair wasn't working for her. She couldn't do the hair. I got BBs over here. It's just not smoothing out well. She puts a perm in my hair. Gosh. And then after putting perm in my hair, she makes the decision to put a texturizer in it to give some curls. Perms and texturizers together is a spontaneous combustion that will leave you with bald spots. Hence the little girl that ended up with bald spots in her hair, having to be taken into private rooms and hairdressers, people whispering about me, my edges coming out. I can remember little kids on buses like, oh, look at her hair. All of the things, like I can remember the microwave ponytail just to have enough of a ponytail because the teeny weeny ponytail wasn't enough. Yeah. I can remember the trauma of that. And so what ended up happening is it went from my hair's not good to I'm not good.
Wow.
And I can still remember, even after making the decision at 18, that I'm gonna take my hair out. I remember getting some, they called them straw curls.
Yes.
Straw curls.
Straw sets.
Straw sets.
Girl, I had a straw set season 2.
Yes, I got a straw set, and I was so proud. It was one of the times where I looked at my hair and I was like, oh my God, it's healthy again. And I'm like, God, I'm brave enough to do it. But somehow, eventually, even through college, put the micro braids back in because it was so uncomfortable. Yes. I was so not used to that. So it was a journey from, I had hazel contacts. It was like, I have to do all these things to make me good enough. I'm going to do all the things that society's doing to make me good enough. And in my 18th year, going into college, it was a season of shedding and stripping. I'm going to be who I really am. And it was a journey to find out who that was. Yes. I knew that I was a girl that loved to stand up in church. And I can remember the first 3 or 4 times in my home church deciding to stand up when no other young kids were standing up. And I was like, that's who I am. That was the girl back from when I was at Settlement Word when I was 4 or 5. Like, Jackie, let her live. Let her live. Stop hiding her. Because at the end of the day, you're not happy with who you've allowed other people to make you be.
So many Black women, the hair.
Oh, man.
The losing of the hair,
man.
The braiding of the hair. We are the only people that, first of all, I think hair and how we do our hair and how we express our creativity through our hair is one of the most lit parts about being a Black woman.
Do you hear me?
Let me tell you, we could leave right now, come back in an hour, look
totally different. Yes.
You would be like, who is that?
Yes.
Where did those cornrows
And that's why I
come
never
from?
get offended when they're like, did I meet you? Baby, you met another one. Yes, it's all fine.
I looked different.
Yes.
I had a different unit on. My braids was, showing my full forehead. And I do look different.
Right.
But I do think that there is also, on the flip side of that, this pain that comes and this judgment that comes with being a Black woman who, one, doesn't know how to do their hair, or has had some type of trauma related to how their hair was taken care of as a kid, as a teenager, as whatever. Anything can happen. You could have alopecia as an older person, and parts of your self-esteem will absolutely be changed. As someone who has walked through that journey and now is on the other side, what would you say to somebody who is going through or has been through a hair trauma, a beauty trauma, about trying to find the confidence to fully show up, even with the fact that something might have happened to harm your self-esteem?
I think that you use a key word. You're going to have to try. I think that there's a level of experimentation that you don't escape and you don't get around. I mean, I tried the straw set, micro braids. I tried to take my hair out for a little while, cut it. I did the big chop. I wore that for a while. The biggest thing that I feel very burdened to tell anybody that's going through that is do not live as a prisoner in yourself. Because I lived like a prisoner for so long. Like, if I took my weave out, I had to wash it and be at somebody's hairdresser same day. And for a while when I was in college, that was a 4 to 5 hour commitment to drive to somebody. But because I said to myself that nobody can see me like this because this is not beautiful. It was a journey of having to decide, Jackie, you can show up looking beautiful for everybody else and not feel beautiful for the outside. And I had to decide what was more important. So rather than going through all these lengths of trying to make sure everybody else called it beautiful, I had to start dealing with the inner part to make that beautiful so that I could deal with and try different things on the outside. What that entailed for me is I had to start when I took my hair down, deciding you're not gonna put a scarf on. You're gonna walk around. You're gonna go out, like, literally in the mirror, Jackie. This is who God made. If you don't put another thing, what makes you beautiful? What does the word say? Like, looking in the mirror to remind myself, even having the courage, because I can recall as an adult, Gia, this is not when I was 15, I mean, a grown woman in my own house, on my own house, running up my stairs after leaving the hairdresser because I was so ashamed of what it looked like leaving the hairdresser. Like, I remember the pain. I remember the tears that burned my face when I was in the showers in moments like that. And I was sick and tired of allowing the world to dictate something that I feel like God gave to me. I had to, I really feel like face the pain and the discomfort of that journey. God, I don't feel beautiful. Can you start to minister to me? Can you remind me of what you say about me? Can you give me the courage? It took a lot. It was a very long season. And I'll tell you the truth. And many people don't tell the truth. I used to say that I wore weave for, like it's easier. Yeah. You have to finally tell the truth. If you don't feel beautiful like this, you have to say, I don't feel beautiful like this. Because it wasn't until I began to tell the truth that I could get to freedom. When I started telling the truth, like, yeah, I'm going to cut my hair off. Well, I'm actually sick of wearing my hair like this, but I don't trust myself with weave. And it took me about 2 to 3 years without going, like literally going weave free. And that's not everybody's story, but it was mine. I had done it for so long that I had to lay it down long enough to actually find healing, to see myself from season to season, to still understand that I was still valuable, beautiful, worthy, that my husband still saw me that way, to give myself, I think, another genesis. It was almost like a new beginning. Like, no. So now I can throw the wig on and take it off. And I'm still so used to when I used to have my hair cut off with no sides, shaved, that I still be like, girl, you're a bad girl. And this hair, this wig, this unit, whatever doesn't make me. So I do think it's a journey.
That's
it's a journey.
Really beautiful. And thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being honest. And we haven't touched on that before on this show, but that's a huge self-esteem, maker or breaker.
Yes, ma'am.
Especially in our community. And I hope that like, as we grow to give grace to ourselves, that is something that we're able to say, like, sis, if you feel like somebody's hair look messed up, maybe don't
do
talk
that.
about them. Maybe
you don't know what they went through. You don't know
what's going on.
Man.
And you also don't know if she doesn't know how to do it, how hard it is to figure out how to do your own hair. Like,
true.
if it's your friend, maybe you can say, hey, I learned how to straighten my hair this way. Let me show you how I do it. But if it's not somebody you know, leave them alone.
Because the truth is, I always think about Gia, everybody has a sensitivity. Right. Like, hair might not be yours, but don't diminish somebody's sensitivity, right? And so in the same way, people have issues with weight or their teeth or whatever. Yes. You don't want nobody running up on you like, girl, why don't you just go to the dentist, or won't you just go to the gym? Because that might be yours. In the same way you would want somebody to deal with your sensitivity, you should deal with the idea that it possibly could be theirs. And in whatever way you would want to be handled, loved on, seen about, and even to your point, shown how. Do the same thing for the other person, where you might have long, luxurious hair.
Or hair you bought that's long and luxurious.
Baby.
Come on.
Yes.
Hello. But I think that there's so much freedom in that, in showing up. Because to be honest, like, I am growing my natural hair, and I'm learning how to figure out how she works.
Yes.
Because natural hair has its own mind.
Ooh, oh my.
But I still have moments where I'm like, no, we're not there yet. But I also do know that I did have a time where I cut my hair and I wore it short. But it was honestly it really was harder work to keep my short hair looking good, because I didn't know how to do it. So now I'm like in the space where I'm like, okay, as I give myself, that time and that freedom to engage with all parts of me that are just fully not made up, adorned with anything, what am I saying to myself in that moment, in that space too?
So crucial.
It's really important what we say to ourselves about ourselves. Okay, so the teenage journey was lit. Then college. Why did you decide to go into dentistry? Take me through that, Dr. Jackie.
Okay, so random story. I go back. I go to get a physical before I go off to school, to go off to college.
And where did you go to college again?
Georgia Southern University.
Period.
Yes,
I
GSU.
like that. Yes.
So I end up going to a doctor. He had a wife that was an endodontist, and which is a doctor or dentist that does root canals. I know you know your mama a dentist.
Yeah. Shout out to the dentists, the black doctors out there. We love y'all.
And he said, I have your whole 4 years. Well, it was really 8 years mapped out for you. And I was like, okay, I don't know. We just started having a conversation about what I was going to go to school to be a pediatrician, and was just kind of talking about work-life balance. I knew I wanted a family and different things like that. He was like, I got the perfect thing for you. You like math, you like science. You should do this. You should go to school for 4 years, a major in pre-dental, and you should go to dental school and become a general dentist. And then after getting your after becoming a dentist, you should go on to go and get your endodontist license, where you would actually basically be able to see 3 or 4 patients a day. You'll be able to go home and see your family. It would give you the best of both worlds. And so I was like, bet. So then I was, me being a person that plans and want to have everything together, I wanted to shadow a dentist, and I ended up shadowing an African-American. Her name was Elnora Jenkins. And she had a husband, she had a family, and she was doing a thing. She was a general dentist in my mom's hometown. And I was like, I could do this. I can see it. My mom and dad were both pharmacists, but they didn't have enough people interaction. You know, it got to be people for me. So I was like, yeah, I could do this. And so I ended up doing dentistry, ended up getting married in my sophomore year of dentistry. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to tap out here. So I didn't go on to finish the endodontics part, but loved being a dentist for the time that I was. But my husband likes to say that I'm the youngest retired dentist. So ministry as it pertains to like showing up in the four walls of the church and women empowerment just became more of a demand.
So did you practice dentistry for how long? And then take me to the moment where you were like, no, this isn't it.
Yeah.
I don't care how many degrees I have and patience I have, because pivoting is hard. So me through that, you know, because you was a whole dentist.
Yes.
Take me through that and what made you say, this is enough for me here.
Hard journey to get into dental school. So
Surely
let's start there. There were only 70 chosen out of the whole state of Georgia, and I was chosen my first time. They tell you don't put all your eggs in one basket. Yep. I still decided to just apply to one dental school because I wanted to be in Georgia where my mom was. Yes. And so I do that. I get in dental school. I don't make the grade. So just funny story, the scout that was coming around that would tell you like what grade you need to make on the DAT to get in dental school, I made that grade. She was like, if you make this grade, don't even apply.
Oh, okay.
I said, so I take it. I was like, cool, bet. Maybe it was a fluke the first time. I take tests well. Yeah. SAT, nothing. DAT, different. Still, I made
totally different.
1 point difference between the two times that I took it, a 14 and a 15. I'm not ashamed to say it. And it was on a scale of 30. I didn't understand it. God, why? Why did you do this? You embarrassed me. I took my friends. We were supposed to have a party. Didn't go that way. They tell you to score on the spot. I end up getting into dental school, and I'm saying that because I believe that the genesis for my dental school journey helped the pivot be what it was. Okay. So I get into dental school. I'm there doing all the things. God is fast tracking me through dental school. I'm in. God has promised me that if Dr. Jackie Greene is supposed to, or Jumpy at the time, was supposed to be in dental school, nothing could stop me. The lady that interviews me, all we do is talk about our moms. My mom's my best friend. Her mom was her best friend. Easiest interview ever. I get in dental school. Amazing. We're in. Hardest thing ever. I absolutely believe dental school was spiritual training for me.
Wow.
It was not even just as it pertains to like being able to preach. It was spiritual training as it pertains to what does God say about what it means to be a daughter of a king of the kingdom. Like I had to rework what is success, because I'm supposed to be the head and not the tail. I'm supposed to be a woman of excellence. And God said, okay, so what is success? According to my word, Joshua 1:9, success is obedience. And so he was having to strip away all these things that I had adopted when I was in undergrad, getting my summa cum laude, only 1B, 396, all this. And he's like, yeah, you about to lay all of that down, because you're going to learn what it means to depend on me, which will be absolutely necessary as I'm living out, birthing my first child, which was a whole traumatic story. Had I not had a God that loved me in his mercy enough to say, I'm not letting you go in your own strength and your own efforts anymore. I'm going to force you to lay down what you think that you can do on your own. Hence not being able to make the score that would be perfect to get me in on my own merit. He was like, the way you're starting is how you're going to finish. The God that got you in is going to be the God that sustained you and gets you out. Wow. So it was so crucial to the whole story of me getting into dental school, making it through dental school in my last year. I'm fast tracked, finished all my credentials 6 months early. Don't know why. And I end up being pregnant with my first son. And I thought that I was going to be laying down a small little sacrifice of not graduating with my class because I'm on bed rest fighting for my son's life. And God is like, no, baby, I'm about to make history with you. In the whole history of my dental school, this is the first time they've ever held an outside graduation outside of my school. The dean, associate dean, the keynote speaker, all of them come to this hospital, a hospital.
What?
And perform a whole graduation ceremony just for me. 15 minutes, because I could only be up for 15 minutes. And a hospital chapel. And they wrote an article about it. And so it just the whole journey of dentistry to me was all about God proving himself to me to be enough. Irrespective of your little finite intelligence, Jackie, I need you to know that I'm strong enough. I'm powerful enough to do exactly everything that I've promised as it pertains to your assignment. Because my name's on the line, not yours. This is about me. And so it was just so crucial. I think for my journey, even in going into ministry as it pertains to like the four walls of ministry, like understanding, no, my daddy does miracles. Like he did miracles and made history with me. So that's just a little bit of my story.
First of all, that is, you made history. You had the keynote and the deans come to your hospital room.
The hospital.
And you didn't, and still the dentistry call was something that you were about to put down, like all of this,
right?
all of that,
yes,
just for it to be not what you decided to move forward through, and really what not God decided to not use you for. So you said that your birthing story was traumatic. So you're on bed rest fighting for your life, your baby's life.
63 days. I was in the hospital 63 days. I went in for the gender reveal, and we're just thinking we're going to get a little envelope. I have a chiropractor appointment, had some more patients still set up. I'm supposed to receive the gender in an envelope, take it to Charlotte, North Carolina, which is where my husband is. And we're supposed to have a whole party. I go in, the sonographer's looking real weird. And because I'm, used to medicine, I'm like, something's off. Right. The doctor comes in because the sonographer says, I can't tell you anything. Doctor comes in and she's like, I'm sorry to tell you, your cervix is wide open, your bag is bulging. You can't even walk to your hospital room. We're going to have to wheel you in a wheelchair down here, and you're going to be placed on bed rest. I'm 20 weeks. You generally have to go to 40 to birth a healthy baby. So at the time, I'm like, whoa, I'm only 25, 26 at this time, 25, I don't know, 25, 26 young at the time. Yeah. And I get down there to the nurse, and I'm like, okay, they say I'm going to be here a while. We're talking days, weeks. She was like, you could be here months. So now it's all making sense why God needed me to be so dependent on him, why he gave me the design that I have, the charisma, the love that I have for patients. They're getting all my credentials done. They're signing off on everything. All of my patients are accepting treatment. All of this is in mind for what God has to come. So I'm done with all of my requirements. I'm on bed rest, 63 days, literally hooked up to anything you could imagine, IVs, using the bathroom in the bed. My legs are withering because I'm in the hospital so long. And every single week we're taking off another band, just praying for my baby to be able to make it another week. Every single day, a sonographer is coming to tell me that my fluid levels are getting lower and lower and lower and lower, which meaning the prognosis of him living is getting lower and lower. And I'm having to fight for my life as it pertains to faith, not just mine, but my baby's life, to believe that God is going to do what he promised. God, you've called my cousin up here to declare, irrespective of what we see, that Jackie shall have a healthy baby boy. My whole dental school is believing with us week over week that this baby's going to make it. Now, mind you, there are naysayers. There are nurses in the hallway saying these faith people, don't give them hope. And even despite our doctor telling my husband in the hallway that it's obvious your son isn't going to make it, you should just go home and try again, we literally looked each other in the face and said that we trust God too much to give up. We leaned in and we were like, this is not a marathon. No, this is the life of our very first son. We're going to believe God. And when I tell you, he did not just hold my womb for days, 7 weeks. Jesus. 7 weeks in one day. We made it to 28 weeks in one day. And I birthed a healthy baby boy, 2 pounds, 11 ounces. He ends up being in an ICU for 61 days. So we spent a third of our whole year in 2014 in a hospital. But had I not had the faith to know that was a God that would get me into dental school, sustain me through dental school, make sure that I had everything necessary, I wouldn't have known the God that would sustain that baby.
Jesus. So you were with the baby in the hospital, figuring out life, figuring out everything. And now this faith story, this testimony is...
Oh, I forgot to tell you the biggest miracle of the story.
What? But you got to tell me the biggest miracle of the story.
The biggest miracle of the story is my fluid levels get down to 1.45.
Okay, what's that mean?
That's
for the
critical
people?
Level. And if you get below 2, that means that it doesn't have enough amniotic fluid to nurture the baby. And they had already told me if it gets down below 1.45, we're going to have to basically just call it. My fluid levels get down to 1.45 within a day, Gia. There was a sonographer who had been coming around every single day. She had been working for 20 years. On Easter Sunday, she comes and she scans my stomach again. My fluid levels had rebuilt to a 12. Now, mind you, it would be one thing if they refill, but to refill and stay, they said the only way it could refill and stay is that if something had to go in there and reseal your room. And I said, it wasn't something, it was somebody. Yeah. And she was like, I don't know who you pray to, but you need to come back and make sure you do this same prayer for these other ladies fighting for their children's life, because we experienced one of the most radical miracles that had been seen in 20 years for that lady, literally.
Ooh, do you remember what some of that prayer was?
Oh my God. It was just like, Lord, this is a life that you gave us. This is somebody this is a being that you desire to be in the earth. this is on you, God. I'll lay here. I'll do my part. But you have to do the miracle that you desire as it pertains to this child's life. And so we just trusted him. We declared that we trust him too much to give up. That was how the Made a Way song was birthed. Like, not that you're going to make a way. Like, you made a way. We're declaring future tense. Like, we're declaring even in past tense. Like, no, God, not you're going to make one. You made one right here. We believe in the middle of it, that you're the God of the middle, that you're going to make a way right where we are, or that the way has already been prepared right there. So we were just blown away by the faith.
Yeah, well, that would make me do
Trust
everything differently from that point on.
Yeah.
To, like, I mean, would you say that was the most transformational experience in your life? Not just faith, not just spiritual. Was that the biggest transformational moment in your life, to see a miracle and be a miracle?
Absolutely. I would say I learned God in a way that I had never experienced him through that situation.
Wow.
I knew him to be Jireh. I knew him to be a sustainer. I knew him to be a friend. Can you brushing your teeth in the same bed, somebody having to start to wipe you and using all of it. 26, your legs are withering. You don't have anything else to rely on. You can't do in your perfection. You can do nothing for you. And to know that there's a God that would love you like that it changed me forever. It changed me forever.
Thank you so much for sharing that story, for fighting, for getting through, and thank you, God, for keeping you and your baby and your family.
10 years old now.
A 10-year-old
with
miracle.
no remnants of prematurity. He promised. He said that Jace will not have one remnant of prematurity, not one.
Look
Yes,
at
ma'am.
God is so good.
He does marvelous works, and I didn't just hear about it; I lived it.
Good God. I love that. Okay. Okay. We're getting towards the end, the last several minutes of this interview. And I have to, now you've taken us through so many amazing testimonies, stories, moments in your life where God has shown up and you've been able to walk with him within your journey. And so when we think about your upbringing and you not having a father that was very close to you, when did you believe it was time to reconcile? Did you have, a moment in your life where you were like, I think, birthday calls,
It's not a.
it ain't gonna work here.
Yeah.
What healing and what work did you have to do to get to that moment for yourself? And then what was that experience like for you?
My mom was pivotal. I was always very honest with her about, like, Mommy, I just feel sad. I feel like I want my daddy to know me. And she would very, very much encourage me. Well, call him and tell him, Jackie, let him know that you want a difference in your relationship. Didn't even find out until I was in college, which was right around this time, that my daddy didn't just up and leave us. So I thought it was just kind of like abandonment. Like he just up and left. And I think I was doing a paper in my, like, English 101 or 102 and was asking questions about my daddy's departure, and she was just like, no, baby, we were actually supposed to do 6 months in America and 6 months in Africa. But as they decided that the marriage wasn't going well, some infidelity on my daddy's part, they decided that this wasn't going to work out. And so what they desired did not transpire. And so it wasn't that he just up and left. He was planning to go set up shop there, and we were going to dual live in both places. I don't know how that was supposed to work, but that was the plan.
Yeah.
So I think even understanding that there was a plan in mind, not that he just up and left us, did help.
Yes.
I think it was a bit of healing. But then from there, I started calling him and asking him, like, Dad, like, I would love for us to get to know each other. And he tried. And then what I recognize is that sometimes we're desiring something that in and of itself isn't going to be the thing that heals us. And so I thought, like, if he called more, if he tried to be a better friend to me and all of this thing, then it would heal that brokenness or void I had. And I came to find out that until I accepted who he was and the part that he was supposed to play, I have his DNA. I'm fiery because of him. Like, all the African flavor is present. And even my ability to believe big. My mom is one of those, like, those small wins. My daddy is macro. He manufactured antiretrovirals for AIDS and malaria and all the things for his country.
Dad.
Like, he is very large and global. That part of me makes me believe. And so I feel like I finally reconcile that I can take the beauty of what he gave me. It might not have been daily interaction, but he gave me a heritage to believe big, to go after it, and charisma and love that I just don't push away. And I think as I began to embrace that, it made me embrace him more, because when he started calling me, it was weird. You know, you can kind of try to manufacture your healing. I was like, you can stop. Maybe birthday still. You know, it was just not the thing. And when I allowed the Father to come in to be the father to the fatherless, I found that was a place of my true healing. It wasn't from my dad as a human being. It was from my heavenly Father who could be present for me in that daily interaction to affirm the parts of me that I think that we're lacking.
I love that was your journey to actually say, you know, this isn't what I need it to be or what I want it to be. And it might not be the space where I can afford to expend energy. Like I can't build something. Sometimes it just is what it is.
It is.
And you have to be okay with, you know, well, I might not get what I need from this relationship per se. Doesn't mean it's bad.
Right.
It doesn't mean it's a thing to constantly call out to try and fix. It might just be where it is, and for your own peace and for your own state of mind and for your own operation in your life, you have to put it in different places. But I like that you said, you know, we tried.
Yeah.
I tried for myself. I had to know, and that's what you discovered. And when I've noticed that a lot of my friends who say, you know, I had a father, he was present, he wasn't present, sometimes that makes it hard to have relationships with men. We all have our moments where like it is what you grow up with a dad that's perfect. You still have a problem falling in love, finding love, creating love in your life. Did you ever have any issues or problems allowing love in your life from men because of a father wound or anything like that? Or was it more like, no, men gave me, like, I was never searching for my dad and someone else that wasn't my dad?
I definitely feel like the father wound made me give more than I was supposed to people that weren't worthy of it. So I'm trying to be wife when you not even being a good boyfriend.
Come on.
And I think that because I was searching for love. And so, you know, you generally give what you want to receive. And I mean, I'm pouring it out. And I mean, they're not worthy of, hey, let alone the kind of love that I was pouring that should have been relegated for my husband. Yeah. So I absolutely had to gather that love and give it back to self until a time that somebody presented themselves to actually be worthy of it. But as I entered into relationship with my actual spouse, it was beautiful then because I had learned relationship with the Father. I had decided that I'm gonna stop. Like, I had lived through enough cheating on me and feeling worthless to recognize that when all these other dudes leave and don't live up to what they said, the only thing that stay right there, it wasn't that God loved me. It was the fact that he still loved me despite choosing the thing that he told me not to. That part of God's love grabbed me in a way that changed me, where I was just like, no, if I'm going to keep it 100 for anybody, it's going to be him. Yeah. And so when I got into a relationship with my husband, even when he started acting a little funny, because he had a big head, Lord, baby, we had some rounds. Yeah. And I was just like, no, I've decided I'm not doing that anymore. Like, you're either going to come correct or not come. And I was okay at that point with like, no, it could be me and Jesus and we got right.
Hello. I'll be the rich auntie.
Yes, ma'am.
So want to play, they can play.
It definitely helped have navigated my own trauma with daddy before my husband.
That is a beautiful way to get to this next question, because I often ask people what love gave them that life's trauma tried to take away. What did love with your husband and your also your babies, because that's a different type of love. What did it restore that life tried to take from you?
I would say acceptance of the real me. Your babies don't need you with no wig on. They don't need you performing. My husband actually loves the dressed down version of me much better. Like, girl, you don't gotta wear them heels. So it continued to echo, just as you are, Jackie, just as you are. Like, you don't have to put on, you don't have to add. My family unit, absolutely, in the way that they loved and nurtured the real me, the one in the onesie, the one in the bunny, it continued to be a affirming echo, just as you are. That's a gift.
Just as you are. What a beautiful gift that is to hear and accept and walk in, because I could see that. Yes. That you like, this makeup's cute, but girl,
baby,
in 10 minutes when this is done, it's coming off. And I'm the same way. Like, when I get to this flight, I'm about to be like, but when there are women that, because you have shared, first of all, so many beautiful testimonies and miracles and things that you have walked through, been through with God, within your own experience with your family, with your friends. And I am so grateful that you would share that. And within each era, you've taken us through highs and lows. For a person that is walking through either the moment of feeling like they are on the line of a miracle, but they don't have faith to get there, what would you say to them about tapping in and really fighting for that faith with the realities of the lessons that you've learned along your own life journey?
It's funny. Some people feel like they're not. So for instance, people could look at the story of Jace with me fighting for my son's life and say that the miracle was only when he was born at 28 weeks. I believe the fact that he sustained me, kept my joy, allowed people to come love me, allowed me to keep myself in my right mind, even being able to see the miracle of my fluid levels being rebuilt. All of those day-to-day moments were small miracles. And so I believe many times we are pushing off our celebration or our release or a breath of fresh air or our hope to this end product, when I would say, open your eyes to see what he's doing in your today. Woo. How well is your mind? Are you thinking better? Do you speak to yourself better? Are you believing in yourself more? You would probably find so many little miracles along the way to the big miracle that would give you fuel to continue to believe for the big one.
I love that. The many miracles that give you fuel. That I feel like that's the lesson that I've heard from your life story, what you've shared with me. Because it's only been an hour. Honey, she could have many more, okay? We should come back. Don't worry about it. Yes. But I do think that is such a beautiful testimony that there are many miracles on the way in the midst of the big miracles that happen in your life. And I think,
don't miss them.
Yeah.
That's where you find that beauty of friendship with God. That's why I'm so close to him. Like, I'm always looking for him. Like, in this conversation, I'm like, oh, Daddy, you're here. Like, the fact that you would allow me to experience somebody that you created so masterfully, so beautifully. Like, I can feel his friendship through just allowing me to meet you.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we're so detached because we're looking for this specific thing that we don't accept what he's offering.
Yeah.
You're a gift, Gia. Like,
Thank
even
you.
being able to be in this moment is such a gift from my life that I'll be able to treasure in my heart if I choose to.
Yeah.
I can be blind to it. It's just like, oh, that's just another thing on my, no. I try to be so fully present. And Daddy, if you call me to this moment, you're in this moment. And I'm supposed to get something from it. And then I find moments to smile. Like stuff like this, I'll get into bed and cry about it at night because I found beauty here. And that's where his glory lives.
Ooh, in the beauty. His glory's in the beauty. And the second to last question I have for you, because so she's an author.
He's an author.
Okay, now remain in his love. 90 devotions to help you dig deep and draw closer to God is the follow up to Permission to Live Free, which both are incredible. And I have to get into this one because this is the new one. But remain in his love, I also feel is a testimony from your story. What birthed this book? Was there a specific experience, or what about your experience in your life gave this to us?
Without Permission to Live Free, Remain in His Love doesn't exist. Permission to Live Free gave me the audacity to stop walking in rooms asking people for permission that I already had been given by God. I was always saying, like, am I good enough? Can I wear my hair like this? Is it okay? Yeah. Did I do well enough? And God was saying, daughter, just as you are, I've already made you exactly how I want you. And do not be afraid just because you've gotten comfortable here, just because you dealt with fear here, just because there has been people that didn't support you here. There are so many hurdles that were stopping you from living in the fullness of who I created you to be. Stop leaving stuff on the table. Eat, girl, like go for it, right? I finally start to embrace, baby, you can do a thing and you can do it like nobody else can do it. Nobody can do it the way Jackie Greene was created to do it. So get out there and do the thing. I believe that as I told my story of like, I'm going to now live in the permission to be who God has created me in full freedom. And I'm going to go after it all. I'm going to try, at least try. I'm going to give my best effort, give excellence and pour myself into it. I think in that place, because it takes so much dependency, I found a love that was wide and long and high and deep. Wow. That literally changed my world. I find joy in all that I do. And in the times where I'm overwhelmed, I go back to be a daughter. And that's what birthed Remain in His Love. It's a 90-day, it's actually a collection of devos from my real journal. Wow. Where I was just writing to God about my own principles that I was learning throughout my life. In the first 30 days, I'm talking about how I receive His love as a daughter. What does He say about me? So I'm kind of walking through them through the journey of like, you have permission because this is what He tells you about you. And then after I receive His love, I have the opportunity. Like, you can receive the package, but now you got to open the box up and discover, like, you need to look into it. What does God also in this relationship with him now say about himself? And as we're looking at what he says about himself, like, I'm Jireh, I'm Nisi, I'm Shalom, I'm peace, I'll fight for you. I'm in terms of being Nisi. I started to like gather, like, okay, I know what he says about me. Yes. I know what he says about himself. And when he says something about himself, because I'm made in his image and his likeness, he's also speaking about more things that I can add to my understanding about myself, so that I can go live in permission and remain in the place of not just starting, but staying. I don't want to just be one of those girls that have a good high moment. I don't want to pray to start. I want to pray to stay. So Daddy, how do I remain here in this love that you've now given me newfound understanding for? So that's both of the books in a nutshell.
That is beautiful. And that is also such a brilliant way to utilize the things that God has naturally poured into you to pour into others.
I always feel that the best ministry is the one you've lived.
Absolutely. Yes, the best ministry is the one you've lived, and you've lived so much life. The last part of this, I really want, I believe that there is sacred space between who you are and who you want to be. Ooh. And the words that we say to ourselves and the things that we allow to be true in our bodies, in our minds, in our spirits are the difference makers between you getting to this vision, this version, this who God created you to be. And so do you mind reading us a passage from Remain in His Love that you feel would be the sacred words that you would say to little Jackie to allow herself to get to the space of where big Jackie is now, this doctor, this queen, this mother that has confidence and joy, despite also being the girl that sometimes is like, ooh, I got to remember I'm as good as I am because it's on purpose.
Yeah. I would say if there's one word that I want to leave behind in every room is that your yes matters. And I say it in every room I go in. It could be a small yes. It could be something that you seen that may feel insignificant. Yeah. The yes that you give, you do not have any idea the ripple effect that it will have and how it will speak from generation to generation. You don't know how there may be a girl right now praying for the yes that you're going to give that'll change everything. So the day 7, I knew exactly where
yes, you did open it up.
This has been one that is kind of like the anthem of my life. So it says, your yes matters. Abraham and Sarah have every reason to say no when God promised them a child. Sarah straight up laughed in his face, in the faces of her husband and God. There was no way she was saying yes to having a child at her old age, especially since it hadn't happened in all of her and Abraham's history together. Our history sometimes becomes such a limitation.
Come on.
Then Abraham made the poor decision of agreeing with Sarah's plan to get with Hagar instead of waiting on God. Yeah. Ooh. Ishmael was born, but he wasn't the fulfillment of the promise. God's plan was so much larger, and Abraham and Sarah could have expected or imagined. They wanted a son. God wanted generations. God wanted nations. It took Abraham and Sarah saying yes to God's specific plan for them. God needed a full yes. As a result of their yes, Isaac was born, leading to many generations. Their yes mattered so much that it impacts us today.
So say yes.
Say yes. Whatever the instruction is, one of the greatest benefits of being a child of God is that you don't have to live guessing. You can live guided. So we don't have to make it up. We don't have to figure it out. All we have to do is in surrender say, Daddy, if you say it so, I will in faith step over fear. I will step over comfort. I will step over trauma. I will step over people pleasing. I will even step over feeling unsupported, and I'll do the thing that you created me to do. I'll say yes.
Dr. Jackie, we thank you so much for saying yes to being on this podcast because it was such a gift, and we always give our flowers. I'm gonna have Raven, who is the producer of this, give you your flowers for so today beautiful. Because thank you, Raven, and our guest, and her plus one. We are so grateful for your yes, for your journey, for the way that you show up in permission, in love for so many people, but especially for so many women. I don't think that we are ever going to be able to know in this lifetime how your yes has impacted the women that walk with you and you walk with and that are called to your ministry and your anointing and the conversations that you have. But I know that every single time someone comes into contact with you, they leave a little lighter. They leave a little better. And we are so grateful that God made you just as you are.
Thank you.
Just as perfect and as beautiful, with a weave or without, with makeup or without. And thank you for all that you are and all that you do, all that you have poured with us. We love you. I love you. I'm so grateful we finally got this moment. So keep going.
Yes.
Keep giving us all the things, all the books. I already know next time I come, it's going to be 15 more books up here and maybe a new one. But thank you for your yes. Thank you for all the ways that you have said yes to love and light and goodness. And that little girl that just fought and led her way to this version. We
Yes.
thank you and we love you and we honor you.
Thank you so much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you. Y'all make sure y'all go get Remain in His Love, the 90 devotions to help you dig deep and draw closer to God by Dr. Jackie Greene. It is available. Make sure that you support her in all of the different things that she has going on. She has her Permission app, ladies. If you want, but you want to be one of them ladies that walk with Dr. Jackie to your success, to your journey and your healing, whatever it is, that this is a fruitful woman of God, honey. Go over there, okay? But thank you so much for being here, and y'all be sure to check out Healed Girl Era wherever you stream your podcast. And if you learned something today, please tag a friend, like, rate, subscribe, no matter where you are on your healing journey. We are so honored that you would be here with us today. Thank you for spending time, and keep going, sis. You got this. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Healed Girl Era podcast. Please be sure to support Dr. Jackie in all that she does by following her on socials at Dr. Jackie Greene and supporting her newest book, her newest devotional, Remain in His Love, where books are sold. We are so grateful to Dr. Jackie and her entire team for making our experience at Forward City so brilliant. So when you're in Columbia, South Carolina, go and visit the church. Go get you some good word for yourself. No matter what era you're in, no matter what part of the healing journey you are on, I hope that today's conversation helps you stay the course in doing your own work and becoming the version of yourself that you've always worked to and want to be. I am so proud of you. Thank you so much for spending time here. And you can follow all things Healed Girl Era podcast for more by going to healedgirlerapod.com. I'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.